Bangladesh has certainly been a exciting model for international buyers and also from a strategic standpoint in terms of understanding how the importance and how the industry grew up in Bangladesh and the importance of it. Globally, I think it's definitely time for Bangladesh to spend time in diversifying production using different raw materials. Thank you, Mr. Sharif, and thank you everyone for the opportunity to have a conversation with you today about about some of the global markets. Bangladesh has certainly been a exciting model for international buyers and also from a strategic standpoint in terms of understanding how the importance and how the industry grew up in Bangladesh and the importance of it. Globally, I think it's definitely time for Bangladesh to spend time on diversifying production and diversifying production using different raw materials, as well as incorporating essential aspects of sustainable production and value-added production. So let's step back and look at just garments for the moment, and then we can switch to some other things. But garments for the moment, I feel it's more important for Bangladesh to diversify, or I should say, develop a more Bangladesh-centric supply chain within the country. So raw materials, instead of being so as reliant out of necessity that Bangladesh has been to import, raw materials from other countries, particularly yarns and fabrics. It's probably to the point where the economies of scale would probably be enhanced by having more verticalization within the country. Certainly, there's some of that now. I'm not saying there's not, but I think growing on that could be very important. Secondly, I think using, and this will get into a comment I'll have about industrial fabrics. I think it's very important for Bangladesh to also develop a value-added industry that is outside of just garment making. And I think that's essential. And along with that comes synthetic fiber production that is local. And to support that, all the strides that have been made on infrastructure within the country over the years, and understand I've been coming to Bangladesh, I go back to the quota days, the old MFA. Okay, so I've seen the change, and it's quite dramatic and very exciting, and a lot to be proud of. But I think we're at a stage now where the industry is evolved, it's evolving, and I think by bringing in more synthetics, but also more product that's just not garments. Garments is terrific, but there's home textiles, and definitely industrial fabrics, which I feel would be important. And the reason I suggest these is that the garment business is going to be a very price sensitive area for everyone for the foreseeable future. Certainly, as long as this crazy tariff stuff is going on, it will be even especially more price sensitive for everyone for obvious reasons. But beyond that, I think it's important for the Bangladesh industry to diversify within its own boundaries, within its own technical expertise. I certainly ascribe to the notion of expanding the educational base within Bangladesh to train the people who will be necessary to help take the industry into the next decade and beyond. I think that's an essential element and critical to the success of the long-term success of the overall industry. Garments is a terrific start. Certainly, Bangladesh has made its mark known in the world. It has been very successful at it. But there's also opportunities for Bangladesh to tap its natural creativity, natural manufacturing prowess, to move into other products at an accelerated rate above and beyond garments, which will take time. Certainly, there's some of that now, but I'm talking about, accelerating that. Because again, the markets for non-apparel are significant, and they have a different price dynamic as opposed to garments. So as I look at it, it really comes down to a class of becoming, or a case of becoming more self-sufficient from the supply chain internally, and then diversification of product, and along with that, bringing in an extra level of expertise or training the level of expertise within the country, within the educational systems. I think that's really critical. And then in turn continue the strides that have been made in enhancing and boosting the infrastructure that will be especially necessary if the industry is moving on to different types of value-added products. And that will help the industry in the long run avoid a price trap that so many countries get caught in, where they're constantly chasing pennies, where instead they should be chasing, hopefully, dollars or taka. Okay. So, and with that, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I think you provided a very, uh, comprehensive overview of what is happening in the global market and how Bangladesh can actually move forward in this, volatile environment where price is almost everything. I'm just wondering though, what role do you see strategic partnership and transparency could play in helping global buyers recognize the value embedded in Bangladesh's apparel export?
I think it's a great question. I think a proactive approach to find those partners, either through partner organizations initially or beyond that to certain specific companies, where people can actually see, buyers can actually see that many of the things they ask for when they first meet suppliers is what's their traceability, what's their sustainability, what's their, these are all things that are required. Okay. And, what are the labor practices? What are the, what's the infrastructure looks like? How's delivery? All these basics. All that can be explained through a partnership program, maybe a formal partnership program with certain organizations to start, and then growing into individual companies depending on the area. So I think that
Okay.
would be very helpful. It's interesting. The retail community always wants everything for less money, right? So it kind of
Yeah.
it's a real problem. But again, I think where I've seen things work effectively is that the relationships have to be substantial. There has to be a real partnership between supplier and buyer. And that I'm not just saying the usual marketing spin there. It actually works. It has to be a two-way street. There has to be a way for everyone to make money. And the only way where that starts is frankly a relationship. It's a very simple business type of relationship, and that has to build trust, and then there has to be a mechanism whereby the profit can be shared, particularly if you're working with with buying houses and so on. All that has to be shared. If you're a direct buyer, say out of the U.S. or out of Europe, again, it has to be seen as a partnership, not just some sort of one-off. Here's a stock lot purchase type of thing. So it has to, that's essential. That's essential. Without that, it's going to be in this kind of an environment, very difficult otherwise to make any money at it. No, I totally agree. I mean, you can't sugarcoat it. It's a significant problem. But I have to say, in the short run, until this tariff situation gets sorted out, until that settles down, everything that you'll be seeing from buyers is going to be very price sensitive. I mean, not a necessity. I mean, the markups now that were not markups, the additional costs that are brought in by tariffs at this point are terrible. And the fact of the matter is, they're going to be leaning on partners. They're going to be leaning on manufacturers to help with this. And as a result, for the moment, larger margins it's just going to be very difficult to envision. So that's just realism right now. Once that lifts, once those get out of the system, once that gets sorted out, and it appears as though there is some sign of it getting sorted out, um, once that happens, then I think we can have that dialogue again in terms of what's the best way. And again, for me, it always comes back to partnerships. It's not a question of just buying off a shelf. It's a partnership. Okay. One of the things that I was really intrigued by today's discussion was about the education. And the fact that I feel it's super important for Bangladesh to develop exchange programs with the schools in the U.S. and in Europe. And in particular, again, I think of programs where classes are actually switched for semesters between the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York and in India. Okay, those things are incredibly valuable, and that'll help to bring up the next generation of leaders coming from Bangladesh, because that understanding, that international understanding, is really critical.